One of the biggest platforms in recent television history, to the Daily Buzz studios. Don't miss Mr. Stedman Graham tomorrow on the Daily Buzz. But right now, a look back at a Titanic moment in history from nearly 100 years ago.
You, Jack, just head out for the horizon whenever I feel like it.
I've got $10 in my pocket. I have nothing to offer you, and I know how the world works.
I'm flying!
Many remember the Titanic like this. But there's more behind the legend than a maiden voyage that faltered. There was a city where it all began.
100 years ago, Belfast was experiencing events which the world in general and the United States in particular were going to be fascinated by 100 years later. Two things were happening in the city. Number one was the Ship of Dreams was being built. Titanic, which is a name that is known all over the world and known for the stories of the people who were on board that ship, the people who built it, and of course the people who built it were the people in Belfast.
The city of Belfast was also known as the City of Dreams. Not only was it where the Titanic was built, but it was the home of famous dreamer and author C.S. Lewis.
Well, the connection with C.S. Lewis and this building behind us is that both were being, the building was being built on the same year that C.S. Lewis was born, and of course he gave to us the Chronicles of Narnia, which chronicles the story of another mythical world, a world where dreams came true, and that's where we want people to come and see the city that gave birth to each of those dreams and to experience both the people and the landscape that gave rise to both.
So what was life like for the passengers? It was the Ship of Dreams. It was a floating palace. Captain Smith and I are taking you back 100 years aboard the luxury liner Titanic. From the grand staircase to the first-class stateroom. Look familiar? Even the third-class corridor is an exact replica of the floating hotel. This is a typical first-class meal, ragu of beef.
It's done with your carrots, your parsnips, your veg, your tomato, and then we have it in a nice stew.
A very grand dish and an Irish staple.
This dish itself, I think, really very much resembles our culture. 40 tons of potatoes and 75,000 pounds of meat that was actually brought on aboard on the Titanic. And it just shows you it was a floating hotel, 5-star hotel.
The luxury liner we know as the Ship of Dreams was filled with inspirational stories.
Thomas Miller was my great-grandfather, and he worked on Titanic both as an engineer building it and then as one of the crew.
The immigrants on board Titanic were hoping it would take them to a better life, which is why Susie Miller's great-grandfather did this.
Before he left, he gave my grandfather 2 new pennies, and he said, "Don't spend those again until we're all reunited." He didn't make it. So my grandfather kept the pennies all of his life.
Something with such little value at the time turned into a priceless symbol of hope.
How cool will that be to take a trip to Belfast, Ireland? Seems cool. All right, we're back in a moment. Keep it right here. Happy Monday.